All right, so here is one of the injector harnesses. These center cables, those are going to be the injector grounds, and this connector right here. These gray wires, I'm getting a metal wire wrap, and I'm also going to be using some aluminum foil to wrap these up. I'm going to get all of that insulated, so that way there's no issues with the power from the glow plugs and the injectors kind of having issues on startup and stuff like that. All right, so done quite a bit of work on this thing, getting the ends terminated. I've got everything separated to the different connectors on the harness. Now I'm going to be, I've got some of the ones in the center. These are terminated just for structure. Most of the weight is going to be on these because they don't go to anything. And, you know, they're stuck in this harness, so they're not going to go anywhere to provide a little bit more rigidity to this. So yeah, I had to add in a couple of wires. It kind of looks like shit, but I forgot about the alternator wires, and then I had to add in this other wire right here, which is going to go to the oil pressure sensor. I just forgot those two circuits, but got some really nice heat shrink. This is what I got. It's for 1/2 inch diameter when it's fully shrinked. Some spots it didn't really go too well, like in this corner here. It was kind of difficult for me to get it shrink right, especially because I've been using this DeWalt heat shrink or heat gun, and it doesn't have any attachments to kind of go around, get a consistent heat throughout. But other than that, I mean, all I did was I just cut little tiny notches. This one kind of stretched out a little bit, but I just kind of cut little holes in the heat shrink to get everything through the harness, and yeah, it didn't really go that bad. Now I will be using this bracket. I'm going to be keeping it in the stock location, but this is what they use to pull up the engine. I'm going to bore this out a little bit, and then I'm going to put this connector right through here because it's almost perfect in diameter. So that way I can at least keep it almost look OEM. That's kind of the look I'm going for. Now, of course, you know, this is all kind of not OEM, but it's going to look good. So, yeah, here it is. All right, so I've got everything pretty much documented now. I've tested continuity for everything. I've got everything labeled for the respective pin numbers. I lost the second paper with pins 31 to 47, so I converted this one since I'm not using one of these. One issue that I did find, and this popped up a couple of times, is as I was trimming up some of the cables here, I was getting a little ahead of myself, and I ended up cutting this one, pin number 2 of this connector, which is now this wire right here. I just pulled it back a little bit just now, tried to get it cleaned up a little bit so I can get something spliced on there to get it back in the connector. So basically, I have a couple of options on how I want to repair this. I can either find another wire down here, cut it, and then trace it up here and hope it's not one that is shorter than these few, because I can still run these. These are just long enough to get in there. But anything shorter than that, if it's one of these wires right here, then I end up cutting it, and then it ends up kind of undoing the progress that I made on the harness. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be splicing in, creating a little bit of an extension, and then just having it go right on in there. So it's going to look something like this. I'm going to use one of the barrel connectors, and if you can see, I actually crimped on the opposite side of the connector here, if I can get this to focus. Yeah, there we go. So you can see I crimped on the opposite side of the connector, so that way if I want to push it down, then I can try to get it crimped on the cable. Now, how I'm going to do that is still up in the air. I think I have an idea, though. We shall see. Okay, so I don't think this is the proper way to do it, but this is how I'm doing it, and I'm comfortable with doing this, so I don't really care. I took this, the centering hole out. I unscrewed this all the way. Now, if you look here, there's a channel now. So realistically, I just got the crimp here on there. So now what I can do is I can take this wire, put it in here, and then now I'm able to feed this wire through. If I can do this shit one-handed, hang on. So before, you wouldn't have been able to do this with that piece in. But now I can terminate it like this, and I can keep on going. Look at how pretty that is. That turned out quite well. Now I'm just going to get some heat shrink on it just so I can cover up that exposed metal. And then we'll be all set. And voila. Alright, so now we now have pin number 2. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pin number 2, have the red terminal end in there, and then at the other end we have it inside of the connector, and we have continuity now.
Okay, so I'm coming in after the fact. Right now, as you can see on the voltmeter, we have 0.6, I believe that's milliamps, or ohms, milliohms, of resistance. I didn't realize that at the time, but little spoiler, a little bit later on, I have injector issues. Turns out the resistance of the wire needs to be a lot less than 0.6. The entire injector system can only have 1.2 ohms of resistance. So if I'm getting 0.6 on 2 wires, that's toast.